provincial political party.
My name is Victor, I'm the treasurer of the SDNON.
Yeah, my name is Lee Kapiti, I'm a member of SDNON.
No, we don't say you must be a member of SDNON, right?
I bring you greetings from our president, Otubafemi Davis, essential. Sadly, he was very much aware of this visit, and we all planned to attend together, but there was some kind of miscommunication. I don't know if you activated. He originally informed that the meeting was scheduled for tomorrow, 1st of February, and that was what we all planned for until the impromptu that came up today. And of course, our members were supposed to have a fuller evaluation, right? But because it was impromptu and we were told we already studio, we were expecting us and the team, of course. So we wanted to reschedule, we considered rescheduling, right? But we thought, we can't just stand here actually, so we just needed to squeeze ourselves out of our schedules to make this meeting. So I think I'll prefer to start.
Are you sure? Please sit down. Just,
okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
I feel more comfortable.
Okay, you want to start?
Yeah,
That's fine. That's fine. Let's start.
Okay, yeah, so we are a society of digital newspaper owners of Nigeria, and like the name connotes, we are, of course, publishers of digital newspaper outlets, basically, and we have our membership spread across the country. We have members from as far as Kaduna and Delta State, and we have that much geographical spread. And we are very much aware of the good work that your agency is doing, and we deemed it was part of our plans basically for the beginning of the year to reach out to functioning agencies like yourself to, of course, have a working relationship with you and hear your story and see how we can amplify your voice within the state and of course outside Lagos. So yeah, that's the essence of our visit. Once again, thank you for having us.
Thank you. You tell a story, and then I guess we'll take questions from you. Okay, so imagine a city surrounded by water. The dominant mode of transportation is road. And you have people spending endless hours in traffic. You also have air pollution being increased. And of course, you have constant population explosion in the States. Mental and physical health as well affected. People checking their BPs more regularly.
Leading to fights and all that.
Leading to eventually go to fight. So let's just create that scenario. So what does the state then do? The state now has this kind of situation. Like a forward-thinking state that Lagos is, leading all the other states, and always trying to make sure that they're ahead. And of course, other states as well want them to follow through with the same template. The state now decides that they need to provide alternative transportation. And this alternative transportation is rail and water. As you know, rail is pretty much capital intensive, but of course, over the years, and even now with the current administration, they've been able to get the rail off the ground and running really fast, because I'm sure you constantly get data that's coming from the blue line and how beneficial that has been to that whole entire axis. And now you've heard about the red line, which is about to come up as well, which is even going to be over 3 or 4 times the impact of what the blue line is. And then of course several other lines, green line, purple line, are coming up as well. So the rail aspect, right? Well, the waterways as well has always existed right from time because, like I said, it's a city surrounded by water. And you have people who have communal living all moving from point A to point B by the water. But the state government sort of backing the fact that we can actually create a structure around water transportation in Lagos. Because out of the 20 local governments in Lagos State, 15 of them are accessible by water. So that means that definitely we can move people from point A to point B easily through water transportation. So what did the state government do? And what did it start to do? So the state government went, first of all, on a major infrastructural drive. When I say infrastructural drive, you have to create what we call jetties and terminals, because those are the loading bays. Those are the places where they embark and disembark. So these infrastructures were strategically positioned at places where you could have connectivity as well, because when people get out of the boats, they might still require what we call last mile connectivity, either the coalways, or you call them, or you have the taxis, or they have adequate parking space where their cars are parked and then they can use their cars to go to the final location. So the state government established the jetties and the terminals across the states, across these 15 local governments, to ensure that they can move people effectively. That's the first phase. The second thing was you then had to institute what we call, the next thing we were able to do was, obviously, you need personnel to be able to adequately monitor and enforce safety rules and regulations. So the state government set up what we call the Water Guard Corps, which is like we call our own last mile on the waterways. Initially, there used to be 48, but as we speak today, there are 108 of them, scattered across the various jetties and terminals I mentioned initially. Now, what they do is ensure that, of course, people wear their life jackets, they ensure that people are not overloading, and then they become the primary source of data, because we are now using technology to be able to adequately take all the relevant data that helps the government make informed decisions. So how many boats are berthing at each of these jetties? How many passengers are there? How many male, how many female? How many children? What's the potential ridership of these locations? We're able to make more informed decisions. So these officers carry out all of those roles. The third part of this whole ecosystem are the operators themselves. Initially, they used to use what we call banana boats, which were open. They've gradually transitioned to banana boats, which are closed. And we now have a few of them now using what you see typically in the UK, France. They now have more modern boats, but we know that the larger percentage of the operators are what we call the informal sector. So they are the banana boat operators who I'm sure you probably know them, the ones who frequently go. But a lot of new operators are starting to bring in more standard boats, and that's the whole focus, that gradually these boats, almost like what you have with the downfalls and the BRTs. So we can see that transition from downfalls to using all the BRTs. So you have those boats as well functioning. So you have both the banana boats, you have a few of the modern boats. So I would say the percentage of this is maybe 80-20, or let's say 85-15. Let's say 85 of the informal boats and then 15 of the more formalized boats as well. And within these formalized boats as well, the state government has its own operator, which is called Lagos Ferry Services. Now, Lagos Ferry Services came into the sector not to compete, but to actually standardize the sector. and create what we call the kind of template we want to see. So they came in and had the kind of boats which we eventually want to be the template for the kind of boats on our waterways. So we had, I mentioned the terminals, mentioned the personnel, mentioned the operators,
The cops.
sorry?
The cops.
The cops, you mean the police?
Water guard.
Okay, water guard cops, yeah. So I mentioned the water guard cops. And I also mentioned the operators. Then, of course, there is going back as well to us, we as LASWA. So what exactly are we going to do with all of this? One of the critical things for us and the drive of the organization is that maybe I should even start. Maybe I should show the question. So how many are you? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How many can swim? I like the laugh. So that's okay. So that's about 30%, 40%. So if we were to increase the room, imagine how many people we can swim. Anyway, why have I said that? The statistics shows that generally the swimming culture in Lagos is low, even though we're surrounded by water. Right? Even, especially the people you find that can swim are probably those who live around the river communities who have no choice than to throw into the water on a normal day. And I don't blame anybody because I got to LASWA almost 9 years ago and I couldn't swim. I had to learn how to swim and I got the job. But I can never forget one day I was going on the waterways and I realized I was the only one in the boat that couldn't swim. And I said to myself, maybe I'm going to the boat. They say, oh, that can't swim. Let's save ourselves. Well, anyway, I learned how to swim after a question of my swim. So we focused on safety. We realized that safety was a major problem because people feel alone. And if people feel safe, then a lot more people will use the waterways. And eventually, as well, I've become an ambassador. Oh, this is what is saving me. The trip from Ikorodu by road is probably 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours. The waterways is 25 minutes every day. There's no traffic. The only thing I always stop and do sometimes, maybe the boat picks up dirt and you go to flush or whatever it is, but generally, 25 minutes in which you know you are going to be at your destination. So imagine a family man or a family woman. She wake up, have her children, she cook, she drop the children to school, have the car at the Apollo terminal, still enter the boat to get to work before it goes. If you are going by road, you can't try it. Only get to work at 7 minutes or then you know most of those house influence. So that's another scenario. That's part of the benefits. But so what we did was focus on safety. And we realized that focus on safety, we had to, of course, the water guard corps, that's why we increased the water guard corps. We also started to do what we call biannual inspection of the boats to ensure that people were inspecting their boats as they went due because we knew that we couldn't change all of the banana bottle at once. We had to make sure how can we make them as safe as possible. And in the last 3 years, last year we had no major incidents in the waterways, which I'm sure if you know, the year before, previous year was 2. Before it used to be 8, 10, 12. Those were the kind of numbers we were seeing in terms of accidents in the waterway, which is why other states started to now come to Lagos and say, how are you able to? I don't know that you know, but we did this year alone. There have been incidents in Anambra, Niger, and Rivers. Anambra, Niger, and Rivers. The Bayelsa, three states have incidents, accidents this year alone. And that's because obviously you have to work with states to be able to effectively monitor the waterways. Inland Waterways Command and Control Center. Right? And this Inland Waterways Command and Control Center sits in Palo here. So right from here, we're able to begin to monitor real time all our locations. Of course, it's a system that allows for growth. But what we've done is we picked 4 major locations, started with them. The whole point is that we move to phase 2, we increase more locations. But from those locations, we see them real time, what's going on there every time, every point in time. We also, through our water guard feedback information, how many boats are coming there, so we're using technology to be able to gather as much information as we can. And that information is now helping us make more critical decisions as time goes on. So we've Waterways getting gradually organized and structured. The state government has now said, okay, we don't want to develop water transportation in isolation. We're now going to integrate all the roads all together. So water, rail, and road have to all speak together. And one of the ways they speak together is by having what we call a cowrie cap. You know, like you know, to that cowrie cap. So the cowrie cap will serve you for the rail, serve you for the road, and for serve you for the waterway as well. So we started to use cowrie cap, even though not across all the operators, but we have been introduced to the waterway. So that cowrie cap now serves as the mode of entry to all these water transportation. So that's pretty much where we are in terms of all what we're doing. But still a lot more. I can speak about this. If you need me to know, I'll speak about this. Yes. So that's pretty much the story of where we are. Of course, let me end on this note as well. We've had significant investment from the British government who saw what we're doing and want to help out. What they call in terms of capacity building. We've called it trainings. They've also come to help us improve our procurement process. And they've also come in as well to help us put a proper structure that can attract the kind of investment we need as well. So what they did was a feasibility study for how to drive private sector participation in the waterways. Now, when they finish that, there's a body called AFD, or Agency for French Development, and the ones that have been supporting Lamata and road transportation in Lagos for the last 10 years. They now want to expand as well, to help Lagos as well, and get funds to be able to expand water transportation. So they help with infrastructure. They help basically, they provide loans and grants to the states to be able to build more infrastructure. So we currently have agreement with them right now. The project is going to kick off this year. It's going to see about the states get almost 78 electric ferries. Going to see about 20 jetties and terminals massively enhanced. It's going to see 130 kilometers of the waterways actually dredged. Because when you see the water, you probably just think everywhere is navigable. Because I'm sure you probably know as you go on the water, that's why they say this place is shallow, this place is deep. When you dredge, then everywhere becomes navigable. So they're going to dredge the waterways, and there's going to be a lot of capacity building for LASWA as well. And then they also, of course, do a lot of environmentally friendly schemes as well to ensure that they encourage the whole idea of having a more eco-friendly transport system. So that's all what is also built into this investment coming from the AIB as well to further boost water transportation in the Lagos State. That's pretty much where we are.
Thank you very much. Impressive narration, and I must commend your resource papers. The councilman here. Your introduction already gave insights basically some questions but still, I'm sure
State of operators, which can mean that at the end of the resource we lost life and property. So the same set of operators, they are still in operation right now. So I don't know, how are you going to achieve that? Because if you look at the recently, like last year, we had only one. So how are you able to achieve that safety? That's one. I think a few years ago, there was a launch of boats. Boats launched this on waterway. I don't know, the city of their operation right now. Or boats. Like they have a boat car. They launch.
Okay, barge. You mean the one for cars that takes?
Yeah, the one for normal boat like Uber.
Okay,
Uber that launch.
Okay, Uber.
They launch.
I know what you're talking about.
Then, so then what's the way forward? What's the plan? Making sure that we actually have zero reserve annually.
Okay, well, I think we've been progressing. So, and I guess the whole plan of what it is to achieve what you're talking about. What we've been able to do, and the majority of the incidents we found out were caused by either one, wrecks, two, carelessness on the part of the operator, or three, night travel. But of course, with all of these three things, it still goes back to enforcement. So like I said, we had to increase our water guard personnel because from 48 to 108. So we have their presence in more locations. That's helped also drive the number of program, but adequate monitoring. Secondly, the inspection I spoke about, biannual and even random inspection of these boats, because like I said, it's still the same boat operators, because when you have this kind of accident, of course, you get penalized, you are fined, of course, and then you also then have to show why you should be let back onto. And of course, with that already hanging over your head, I don't think anybody wants to. Loss of life, so any loss of life is usually traumatic, and it's not a very, very good experience for anyone at all. And a lot of boat operators sometimes too, you have the captains who are driving, you have the people who own the boats themselves. The captains sometimes, if they are careless, of course, they are the ones who obviously are the ones who cause the incident. So what do we do for them as well? We have to look at them as well and do some kind of trainings for them as well. They are certified by the national government, but then we have to do trainings for them. So we organize training, for example, like Yamaha, who's an engine the manufacturer. We have usual trainings for these captains to go to even enlighten them more safety tips as well. But majorly the crowds and the state approach, we also have to come hard with them. For example, when they're reported for overspeeding or carelessness, they have to face the full information. So generally, I'll say what has really helped us is being able to enhance our own capacity as LASWA, and also this enforcement mechanism as well we put in place. That's why I think that's helped in terms of driving the incidents down. In terms of what you spoke about Uber came for a pilot, which was just a 2-week pilot. And I know that you know how Uber functions. Uber doesn't own any infrastructure. They don't own the technology platform. So what they did was they decided to partner with an existing operator who owned the boats. So when they did their numbers, they were not very pleased with it. So they knew that it was not economically viable. So you don't have not be a test at that time, see what I was buying for them was buying. Because I know that you know what to capital intensive. It's highly capital intensive. And generally all functions of constitution working government has to subsidize.
So if I ask for the moment, how do you say there's no night travel?
There is, I mean, people would be with their court, they would either be facing full note of the law because you have to be penalized, either by the Navy, Marine Police, or ourselves.
Is it that night travel is totally for
commercial passengers, I want to say commercial passengers, so now you have all the passenger boats moving people and us. After 7 p.m., there's none. But of course, for tourism, especially within this Lekki axis, you are still allowed to within a certain period of time. Because between 7 and 10, we know that people want to take night cruises and yes, that one is allowed. But in terms of commercial transportation, it's absolutely
So in terms of revenue, do you think your agency is doing well at this moment? Because so far so good. A lot of people have heard about the agency so well, but I think most people still don't know or believe in the agency so far. Because if not, a lot of people will just jump on that list. And I've been to when the management started, I followed up. In fact, when they were building it, I was going there to see the place until the place was declared open. And on the day the place was declared open, we saw a lot of boats. There was fanfare, there was party, and everything. Then after, for you to know, I also followed up again to go to that place to see. And when I got to the place, it was totally different from what we had outside. But when you go there, you don't even see it. I went there, maybe like 3-4 times. I went on boat, I asked them, and they said, we just have one, and they are no boat. Now, what I'm talking about the one in America. And when you see the level of infrastructure, yes, in fact, I love Lagos. When I was telling my friend there about it, I said, yeah, I love Lagos is not even starting again. Because some of the things, I snapped a picture there. So I went there to see. Most of these things are no longer standing. Yeah, maybe they've been destroyed or there's no maintenance culture. So I want to know why in a situation where government will invest so much in having a place like that and there will be no functional roads. According to what you told me some years ago, they said maybe boats will come and go through and take some passengers from the place to the island where I've been there. And I know that that place is not that functional. Based on when you look at the kind of investment that have gone into this. So I want to know why maybe the level of education or negotiations are still scared that the waterways is not safe because of stories they heard about boats capsizing. Also, secondly, I want to find out from you. Thirdly, okay. Aside from managing commercial boats from here to what about local boats operators? Because there was a time I went with this sorry, by the Lado from Abu Wodofi to went to a Lado, one island like that. From that point, in fact, my life was like here. Because the way the boat was speeding, we were almost inside the water. And these are local operators. So who is in charge of this guy? Because I know some boats capsize in that area. The news might not be everywhere. Because some of those places are places that people rarely even hear anything about. I'm very sure, sir, if I'm right, there are so many islands, so many places that people don't even hear anything that happens. But sorry to filter out. We want to know if you actually manage it as well.
A lot of rural communities. Now, remember I mentioned and said that from the beginning, water transportation has always existed. A lot of these communities, that's their major mode of transportation, right? But with the development of water transportation, it has been gradual. So we oversee the entire waterways. However, we have to take it in phases because what do we do, for example? I mean, that I can give you, maybe a typical community will have maybe 20 operators, maybe 20 boats, right? If you're going to invest heavily in that area, then you're going to have to transition their boats from what they currently have, and you're going to have to help them because a lot of those people cannot afford to buy those boats. So what's the key thing? Well, the key thing is that how do we ensure safety in those areas, which is why I now said we have to increase the personnel we now have to cover a lot more of those areas. And the critical thing about waterways, I don't know how you went, but they wear life jackets.
Life jackets. Okay, we have life jackets, but they were not many. The guys who value these things or who operate those things, they are just normal.
So one, of course, they learn from each other because it's their dominant mode of business in that area. But where I'm going to is that with the current conditions, you have to ensure, and our main focus is how do we make what they currently have as safe as possible. One is the employment of the water guards in that area. Two is the encouragement of life jackets. Because life jackets is the singular most important thing to anybody on the waterways. Because why? In case of any emergency, once you fall into the water, it will keep you floating. It will keep you floating for more than 24 hours if you don't get help. But of course, in those areas, there's fishermen, there's sand miners. Someone you will definitely get help and rescue. So yes, we oversee a lot of those areas. However, we ensure in those areas that as much as possible, and we also work with the associations. For example, the ones in which you probably going under one of the associations in that area. And those associations would always feed back information of this area of new development. And you know, like I said, water transition is probably being developed now alongside Rio. There's a lot more that needs to be done. If you look at the road now, I mean, more lowers used to be the thing at one point in time. And we moved to downfalls. Then we now move to BRT. Now you hardly see more lowers, just mainly the downfalls and the BRT. So the same way you've seen that transition, the same way the waterways as well. You have that transition from having these modern boats gradually begin to take over all of the different locations. But, like I said, and I'm saying again, is that those locations is to find out how do we make them as safe as possible. One, personnel. Two, encourage the use of life jackets. Even where we go down to this community, I know that a lot of this community don't speak English. It's their local languages. So we have to even domesticate our sensitization. So whether it's Yoruba, they must have it in Yoruba, whatever, even the booklets that we take there, it must be Yoruba that we even take to those locations. And we do a lot of life jacket donations, even though we know that the operators should buy. Every year, the state gives nothing less than 2,000 life jackets across the entire Lagos State as well. So that's one question. So you mentioned Bariga. Yeah. Very interesting. Bariga Jetty, how did it come about? They fixed that road for them, and the community, in its normal way, will climb. Oh, there's water at the end of the road, do a jetty for us. Did they really need a jetty? If you ask, we did not. But the main problem that inhibited that jetty, I don't know if you know, of course, since you say you've been there, is the interconnecting road that leads to that jetty, St. Timbers and Old Bariga. Which is under construction. I don't know how they finish it. I haven't been there. Anyway, so that place became a major story because the life of any jetty is the connectivity and how people get to that location. So if that place, so the whole idea is that we want people to be using Bariga, we want them to come from Unilag, we want them to come from Bagada, we want them to come from Shomolu. If they're going to be coming through that road and they're going to get there, so a lot of people became discouraged from actually using that jetty. We tried to, okay, let's get people within the community to know, those people within the community are like, no, we already have ways, we want other people coming from us. So they were not willing to come by. So it's one of those jetties, unfortunately, that has been created with that problem. We have to find a way to optimize it because it would help even the congestion of Terminal Bridge, which we eventually, one of the things we want to promote is that, look, you don't have to always take your car on Terminal Bridge. Park your car in Bariga, and then from Bariga, use the boat from here to Marina or VI, which obviously will promote it better. But the main problem was always the interconnectivity, which we had initially as well. Your third question, I think, was revenue. First question was revenue. Yeah, how do we generate revenue? Well, okay, so for us, revenue has not been the number one focus, and I'll tell you why. Because, like I said to you, transport is an enabler for the economy. Every country where transportation is working, the government subsidizes it. And government is the one who enables it to work. Water transportation is very capital intensive, right? So it's one of those areas where government is the one who invests in it. Because a lot of this infrastructure we're building, right? How much do you possible to generate from? Imagine if I was to charge you an arm and a leg because you want to use water transportation, right? Now let's do the typical maths. From the Ikorodu to here, now it's going for about 2,000 naira to go. Round trip is 4,000 naira. That's 20,000 naira in a week. That's 80,000 naira in a month. How much is your salary? So if I were to increase it beyond the 2,000, how many people will be able to afford it? It already makes it already a big disadvantage.
Do you think that's affordable?
Well,
for an average person.
That's what I'm saying. So that's why we're going back to tell you that it is capital. Yeah, that's what I'm telling you that water transportation is capital intensive. Because why? Let me give you another typical example of it. The engines, each of those engines now, today, you don't buy Tokumbo, you buy brand new engines, 15 million. Just the engine. And the boat itself, So how much will you possibly be making over time to break even and begin to make a profit? So it's generally a sector that's capital intensive, and there's maintenance, you have to pay the staff, of course you have your regulatory fees you pay. So it's a sector that has always had to thrive, and of course government intervention and government coming. So in terms of revenue, it's not for us now about the revenue we're generating, it's about what are the effects, the societal effects. And those societal effects are massive because why? You're moving a lot more people, like I mentioned. You're reducing air pollution because that's very, very important to us. You're also saving people time, which obviously is even money for a lot of people as well.
Okay, yeah. Let's talk a bit about data. And I'm aware of your projection to get maybe about 30% of commuters in Lagos to fly the waterway. How feasible is that projection, and what are the statistics of daily commuters via the waterway? Then holistically, do you think you have that 30% projection of those who want to?
Well, I don't think 30%, but I know what you're talking about. 30% is basically an ambitious plan that we have, because right now we're barely doing less than 5%. And the only way that will be possible, to be honest with you, is the influx of more standard goods, right? Because the more of those standard goods are available, then not only do the existing passenger associates, because the whole idea is not just existing passengers. So right now, on a monthly basis, we're seeing about 1.8 to 2 million passengers every month. Those are the numbers we're doing on a monthly basis. But the whole idea is to see how we can triple those numbers, to get to 6 million, to get to 8 million, to get to 10 million. But you have how many people in Lagos? You have about over 25 million people and counting, right? So the whole idea is how do we get a lot more than 2 million people? Right? That means you need people who are currently not using the waterways to come to the waterways. And the critical thing for them is that they want to see more standard goods. So what's the state government doing? The state government, I speak to you, this year we'll be launching about 25 new boats, which are 40 seaters. And the idea of those new boats is to help decongest the waterways as well, and to gradually begin to help phase out fuel local boats. Because the majority of the boats you see are 20 passenger boats. But this one the government is bringing 40 seaters. So that means you already basically doubling the numbers by 2. You're taking basically 2 boats by putting one on the waterway as well. So those are some of the things we're looking to do to be able to help achieve those numbers as well. And of course, like you mentioned, when you're using the rail, you have the carry card, you have the option of as well either using the water or using the road as well. So we believe that those indices as well help drive the numbers for water transportation.
So, is there a way to reduce the price to attract more passengers?
Well, you know, just like the way they've had to take off fuel subsidies, there's no point in the government trying to start something that you can't finish, because once you start it, it'll be hard to stop it. I mean, I'm sure you're doing this time. They were doing it on the BIT, but now they do 50%, but they do 25%, and now they stop it just as last year. Yeah, so it's not sustainable. I mean, it can be helpful for the time, but not sustainable. Unfortunately, it's just, well, the way you look at it is, I mean, what am I paying for? I pay for the time I've lost on the road. So it's like that's extra money you're paying for water transportation is the time you're saving, like really on the waterways.
Which route is the business route on the waterways?
The business. Well, there are many of them. There's Korodu to the island, very easy. You have Badagry to Marina, very easy as well. Yeah, even around that power access as well, extremely easy. From Korodu to Marina, Korodu to the island is extremely easy. Those control artists you mentioned, all day, there's traffic all day. So we have peak periods and off-peak periods of most of these day routes. The peak periods are between 6:30 a.m. to about 9:30 in the morning. And of course, 4 to 6 people are of course going to work or coming from work. Between 10 and 3 is usually very light and off-peak. But in those Ojo, the entire Ojo community is all day, non-easy.
Do you move out of Lagos?
No,
At all?
why don't people do this? There's the Kutonu road. Once it gets out of Lagos, it falls out about 100 That's the limit of the national border.
Yes, I want to know if there's any way LASWA control that or the filters kinds of evidence.
So we said tide, behind that water, the tide is there, tidal waves, how we control it. Well, you can't control tide because tide is natural. But obviously through our control, we can take measurement, tidal measurements. Because the Navy have a hydrographic office, but because they publish reports every year. So with our reports, we're able to, of course, inform our operators. These are different times at different times of the year. But if they want that information, we have it. We don't know we can control it, but we can, of course, monitor it and have records of how, where the tides are heavy, where the tides are strong, and where they are usually.
But now you're moving people, individuals. When are you going to start encouraging people who buy and sell, especially in Lagos, to move their goods, which will help the road?
No, we have a lot of those, especially from Badagry to Lagos Island. And those who are moving their products from Badagry and come actually sell. But that's what people who are coming from shore. If I rode from Kotonou to Badagry, and from Badagry, I go to go and sell it. So I have a lot of that already currently happening. But of course, is to further encourage a lot more of that. When you mean in terms of containers, you mean containers like
Maybe badges.
okay, so that currently exists, but of course that's not directly on the house as well. The NPA as well. NPA, the federal oversees that as well. So there's a lot of badges moving containers from point A to point B at the moment. Yes, I know that.
My one last question, sorry. When I came in, all my questions are not too much. You know, it's good to have clarification about some of these things. When I came in, I had to go and find out information. When I got downstairs, I saw 2 or 3 ladies on the counter. The first person I spoke with, like trying to ask questions. You know, maybe people come there to ask questions. My eyeball alone already told me that I should just avoid that. Because, so I went, but the other lady, the other side was willing to give me information. Like I was asking her if I want to go from here to Snake Island, I want to do this, the course and everything. You know, she told me, you people don't have a table. You don't have any information booklet or whatever. So it has to be about to so you people do manual. And she was smiling. So what I want to see, from what I saw, that was what I want to see, just like you did with the train thing, is to see the advancements or encouraging people to use waterways by using technology, tech tools, simple tools, maybe apps, maybe on the website, where if I'm somewhere, I don't need to come in, I can find all the information in one spot. So even if I want to book to go to somewhere, I can easily find it. I know very well, maybe you must have lived abroad or something. What's it called? This train staff, Euro staff, what's it called? You just sit somewhere. You can just book. They tell you about maybe £2 or something. You book already. You come there and you are in. So I don't know. You are saying if you are thinking
No, well, it's good. It's good you mentioned it, but like I said to you, the developing sector, which obviously you're very part of the sector, the sector that is growing, is developing. Remember I mentioned to you, 80% are still informal, and you still have what you said, and that's why the economy are what it is. The reason why the rail is different is because rail is not manual. It started on the right way, which is why it made everything electronic. You can't even pay cash for that rail service.
No, they didn't start like that.
That's what I'm telling you.
Because I followed you that well, the one in Lagos here.
Yeah.
It was manual, you told them. But when you got it.
Yes, that's what I'm saying to you. So they started from what? From manual. And that's where the currently is right now. You said that you wanted us to move from there.
But now they're also using the online booking now.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So for the waterways as well, you will not use technology for the banana boats. That will not work. So until those ferries, of course, the more standard ferries come, which I mentioned, you can even the Cowrie can now are for the standard ferries. So as we move from the banana boats, the whole point. So for example, the 25 boats that the government is launching now are all going to be on Cowrie can. They're not going to be using cash. So as we improve the boats, they will also improve the system as well. And the technology. It was very good feedback for us for what you said about, because those we met there are actually not information, they are ticketers. Yes, they are both ticketers, so they sell boats for, they're basically selling tickets for their other, they are boat operator tickets. Yes, but it's very good feedback. That's very good feedback. So it's good for them to play. You can always know, because you never know, you might be as a potential customer in the house. So
all different locations, inclusive of this place. So we have the 5 carriers terminal, where we are currently. Where we are currently, 5 carrier terminals, this one. Well, you see the next slide. We have a Vito job, so it's also a live view, so it's our power region. Then we have Liverpool. This is Liverpool terminal. Yeah, it's a terminal. Then this is the Ikorodu terminal. So all these you are seeing now, they are live locations, live views from our locations with the thermal, and the camera has night visions, has long range views of approximately 2 kilometers, and it can see very clearly in the night. It can identify objects also, so it has some technological features that were not yet implemented also. So currently what you see here in this dashboard is our geoportal. Total terminal count 12, total jetty count 44. Jetty is just a smaller version of the terminal. Total landing, just there, open ground, nothing else, no facility. So currently we are still finding a way to resolve the connectivity between the personnel that collects our data, because we have our officers in all our facilities. Quickly, if you check the map, you see blue icons of boats. So those are our facilities we have across Lagos State. And these facilities are terminals and jetties and landings, so that you understand what I mean by facilities. So we have personnel that capture this data, both male and female, that pass through the facility or the boat. So those data are being streamed directly to this place. So we are still having some glitch in it. That is why it's not really resonating well. But I will give you an example. Today's one now, we have a passenger count of 1,600. The boat count 128. So averagely, each passenger per trip is 13. So there's no accident count for today. So that is daily information. So that daily information you see, we dumped where you have passenger count of 3.3 million, average trip 270, and 2,823. So that's how it moves in every day.
The 3.3, is that like a cumulative for
Yeah,
the month
it's
so far?
Yeah, it's a cumulative
For the
from
month?
last year. No, from last year down when we launched this thing. So like I said now, so some of these officers we have, some of the time they might have network issues. They can have low battery on their phones, so you might find it difficult for them to upload to release and stuff. So
okay, so we've been here for like 3 minutes now. The 1,600 has not changed. So maybe due to what you just said about the officers.
It will change. So if you see the under now, the route information, let me just explain that one. It's changing now, I can see. So those are the frequency in terms of trip. And I believe before we finish here, that 1,600 with something we have to use, because it wasn't like that in the morning. So, and also don't forget we also have time and off-peak time. And very soon the peak time will soon start.
Okay, so I have a question. You said you monitor the terminal, right?
Yes.
Okay, are you saying that it's only the terminals you monitor? What about along the trips?
So if you notice now, this camera is panning. So it pans. So anything you can see around 2 kilometer range, we can zoom and see whatever it is, and it's recorded live.
Okay. So yeah, I know. Now beyond the 2 kilometer range,
Tracking each.
do you track that?
Okay. So in the phase 2 of this project, so what you see now on this geoportal, we're going to be tracking the passenger boat itself.
So we're expecting a drone or something.
So we have a drone. So we have
No, for the monitoring.
no for in in terms of tracking of the boats,
Yes, so
There
that
will be like
in case
some-
there is
There
some
will be
kind of
tracking
device.
device.
Each of
There's a
Facebook.
tracking device that would be
that's what I
in
said.
Facebook.
I said this job order will be the one to be able to see the boats moving, so we'll be able to see the live locations of the boats. So there will be a tracking device that will send the data to this job order to track.
For each terminal, how many boats, an estimate of how many boats live here in Liverpool?
So now this is the cumulative for each of for everything together, but we have separately for each of the terminal because it's separately then joint here together.
So a rough estimate, do you have an idea of how many?
It's right there. So see by Genty, the name, yes.
Yeah, so
Kira,
that's the true
But
figures.
this Liverpool,
Lancaster.
this Liverpool, all these boats, they are just canola, they are not just.
So
So the Lagos State Ferry Services are the ones who run the commercial boat service under the Lagos State government. Again, they are not there to compete with those that are already there. They're just there as a form of addition to aid.
Just like
authorities. Yes, exactly.
standard.
Yes. So what we do is patrolling and monitoring. Yes.
Okay, regarding the monitoring, I think it has been explained. One question that I have is that I wanted to know if you guys have sheets. But since there won't be night travel, we don't permit night travel, so I want to know maybe that's why you have sheets.
So for now, we like that's a good idea, and also for now we've not been running 24 hours because of the fact that there's no night travel. But at the same time, the facilities, the devices themselves run 24 hours.
Okay, but the GM, I remember mentioned that it is only commercial that is not running night.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But for people that
Leisure.
leisure and all that, but they should be regulated too.
Directly.
So what if something is happening at the terminal in the night and all that?
They already said that devices.
There's devices are
Okay, to be captured, but
Yes.
it's not going to. Your response won't be live. Like, okay, maybe it's when you come the following morning that you now check what
So
are
now guys, where we come in for our search and rescue team.
Yeah.
So those ones are on the standby 24 hours, 24 hours.
So
But they take control from the end.
So now any from any they can take their calls.
That's what I want to play. So you people also monitor.
We monitor, we regulate.
Major news activities.
When you watch American movies and you see them doing this, you
So like it's not
say,
way in this country. We have all the things.
More than
If you check our social media, we are talking to LASWA, YouTube, you see this.
maybe so the boats over there have one of our patrols.
We have about 4 of these, 4 or 6 of them.
So we have a partnership with the Ministry of Health, where we have a floating clinic, just in case, yes, it's right there, in case of any emergency. So instead of,
Yes.
yes, a floating clinic, instead of people waiting for a bus to carry
Or
body,
ambulance or-
so we have that as
Before, yeah.
for the state.
We have
And we also now
oxygen
have
and-
last time bus care for emergency. They sit permanently in our office.
you know what you need to a floating bar. I'll tell you, when you have a floating bar, that one will give people more. You know,
But they are just regulators.
And we are regulators. So we can bring the investment. We can bring the investment to our license.